Hi, it's Latoya Robinson here, and I'm doing our JSTOR presentation. The article that I chose to review was Interbranch Negotiations over Policies with Multiple Outcomes. That's by William G. Howell and Saul P. Jackman. And the central argument of the actual article is that our current interbranch negotiations for our nation is pretty ineffective because it results in one outcome, and the outcome tends to favor one side more than the other. With this, they've actually created a model. They've used it more. They use more equations and statistics to show us how it's more favorable in our negotiations within our political system to have multiple outcomes at the end of the negotiation. So basically having choices. Because right now what we're looking at is we'll see our president versus members of Congress. And when they're trying to negotiate, I'm sorry, my son's in the background. They're trying to negotiate regarding a conflict. A lot of times they're on different levels of the conflict. So just like how we learned about the different, like the iceberg, how there's, multiple things that make up an issue or a conflict. The issue lies with this is that the president is more so based on a national level, whereas our members of Congress are more on a local or district, from states from where they represent level. So as a result, they tend to clash with their outcome. They also pick a solitary outcome. So it's not like they're really negotiating per se. This is more of like a who's winning is what we're currently getting into. So they actually created a new model that broke it down to show us how having multiple outcomes for negotiations leads to better results over time. We also need to realize that the time in which these negotiations occur is very important. It was also shown that when we're at war, they tend to negotiate statistically. They tend to negotiate quicker and come to an outcome, although it doesn't really seem to be agreeable sometimes to either side. So wartime versus peacetime, you have different negotiations. I did like it because just like we were learning and getting to yes about how you don't have to give in or basically downplay your interests in order to negotiate, as long as you know that what you're negotiating for and that you're willing to come to an agreeable end. With our president versus members of Congress, and this article was written in 2012, so it's relatively new. I'm sorry, 2013. It's relatively new. It just discusses how their new model that they're putting into place shows multiple outcomes. And they show that when you create these outcomes, how it favors different levels of the conflict, thus giving you a more effective resolution. So I am going to obviously touch base more on this in my final paper for the class, but I did appreciate the good read regarding this new possible model that we could basically instill in our political system in order to make sure that everybody's fighting for the same thing, which was a really, really big point in this. Okay.